Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to review two Google extensions and three Google add ons. I'm going to start by going to my Google Drive. The first extension I'm going to review will be Immersive Reader. So, Immersive Reader is helpful for students who are going to need support reading particular web based documents. So, I have already gone to I've already added the extension here for Immersive Reader, which appears at the top of my screen here. So I'm going to go to my students have been learning about passive solar energy homes. That's the current unit that we're on. So let's say I want them to do a little bit more research on the different elements of passive solar energy design. So I'm going to do a Google search for passive solar energy design elements. And let's say I found some information that I want my students to read. And I have some students who could be who might have a read to accommodation of some sort. Immersive Reader would allow the student to read the information. So the student would go to the website, they would highlight the information that they want to have read, highlight it, right click, and here's the icon. It says read to me. So I'm going to click that. There's the information to be read. The student all
Passive solar design refers to the use of the sun's energy for the heating and cooling of living spaces by exposure to the sun. When sunlight strikes a building, the building materials can.
So we'll stop there, but that's an example of how Immersive Reader works. Immersive Reader will also allow you to adjust the size of the text. You can increase spacing, you can change the font, whatever's acceptable for the viewer. There's some nice other features up here where Immersive Reader will highlight parts of speech, so on and so forth. Reading preferences. All right, so you can adjust the spacing and zoom in on certain portions of the text. There's a translate feature, which is awesome. So many of us have students that speak more than one language. I'm going to pick Spanish because that might be the more common one at this point. And let's see what happens. Immersive Reader translates the document into Spanish, which is equally awesome. I'm going to go back to the spacing and I want to see the full document. And let's have it read.
Diseño solar pasivo. El diseño solar pasivo se refiere al uso de la energía del sol para la calefacción y refrigeración de espacios habitables.
All right, so students who speak multiple languages have options to use Immersive Reader for translation as well. All right, so the next tool I'm going to review is called Open Dyslexic. This is an extension for Chrome. So I've already added the extension at the top of my browser here on the upper right. I'm back to the article on passive solar energy design elements because that's what my students are working on right now in class. So for students who, may be dyslexic or have some challenges reading, this is a great tool to use. So I'm going to open up the article, scroll to the top. All right, so this is how the tool works. I am going to click on Open Dyslexic. The extension here is at the top. I'm going to turn on the tool and you'll immediately notice an adjustment in the font style. So what's nice about this tool is in some of our reading, I learned that the tool often updates with information and feedback from people who are dyslexic. And so the font shifts so that the dyslexic reader can um, more able read some of the nuances between letters, let's say O's and B's. Um, so that's helpful for students who have dyslexia. To return the text to the original format, you just turn it off and then it returns to its original format. So, next, I want to talk about how to use one of the three Google add ons. The one I want to focus on first is the Slides Translator. So, what you're looking at now is a slide from my passive solar energy presentation to my students. For students who would benefit from seeing this information in another language, the Slides Translator is a great option. So I've gone to my Google Store and I've already added this as an add on. So I'm going to go ahead and go to add ons. Notice it is already here. I'm going to attempt to change the text to Spanish. And I would share this Google slide with my students so they could follow along in their native language and they would have control over changing the text into the language of their choice or one that's most comfortable for them. So I start by highlighting the text. I go over to the side. I'm going to scroll down to Spanish. Then I'm going to click translate. And in the box on the right, the text is translated into Spanish so that the student can read it. And this is something that can be added to students' computers so that they can make these translations on their own. Additionally, with Translator, hypothetically, if you wanted to have a student um, create their own slideshow, maybe there's students have who are more comfortable talking or speaking into Google Slides. Translator is another option for that. So I'm going to open up a blank slide in Google Slides. Okay. Once it loads, I'm going to go ahead and start creating my slides just by speaking into the slideshow. So I'm going to go to my add-on tool. I'm going to go down to Slides Translator. This time on, instead of selecting Translate Text Box, I'm going to select Voice Type the sidebar. So then I have a side panel. You can also do a floating panel in the middle of the screen, but I'm going to use the sidebar. Here is the language. You can select the language that you want to speak into. I'm going to change mine back to English. Click the microphone and then you can begin to speak what you would like to appear on. I'm going to click the microphone to show what I want to display. Passive solar energy homes. Click into the next box, click the microphone and speak. By Trevor Coates. Okay, I can correct my name later. I'll add another slide. I'm going to add my title. Passive solar energy design elements. Passive solar energy design elements. Okay, now I'm going to click in the text box and speak what I want to speak what I wanted to type. I could also use this as a teacher if I wanted to. Number 1, insulation. Probably redo that. There are 6 passive solar energy design elements, period. So that gives you an idea of how the Slides Translator works. So let's look at another add-on called Creator Studio. So this tool allows you to change the Google slide to different types of formatting. So I have already Added the add-on to my Google slide. You'll notice here it's called Creator Studio. So I'm going to open Creator Studio on the side panel, much like using Nearpod. It kind of reminds me of that as well. So there are four options, well, three that I'm going to use because I don't have the premium access, that I'm going to use to convert this Google slide to different formats. The first is an animated GIF resolution. Give it a minute to complete. Notice here you can download it to your computer to share, or you can preview it. I'm just going to preview it for now. All right. Okay, and this can be shared, downloaded, and shared with others if you'd like. So I'm going to leave this particular one. Now I'm going to change to image sequence. Now, image sequence is going to change my slides to individual files. So it's loading. I'm going to preview it again. So now I have all slides as essentially photos, PNG files, to be shared individually or used individually if that's how I choose. And finally, you can change this Google slide into a video file, an MP4 file. Might be helpful if you want to upload it to YouTube or something of that nature. Simple process. I like how you can just choose the option, click, it downloads, it renders rather, and then you can preview or download. That's simple and easy. And now you have a video. I'm going to download it. Okay, I'm going to open it. And now it's, there it is. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the original. I probably should have adjusted the speed here so it would go a little bit faster. Finally, this other option, video to audio, you can change this to a video file and add audio behind it. So that's another nice feature as well. The last add-on that I'm going to review is Pear Deck. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a blank Google slide. And really the purpose of Peer Deck, I can use it to develop slideshows for my students, really to run the course of an instructional unit. I'm going to actually open up a blank slide. So I'm going to pretend like I'm building a slideshow for the day instead of one that I have existing. You can also add to one that's already an existing document. So my eighth graders have been working on Newton's laws of motion. So I'm going to use Pear Deck to build a slideshow to support their learning from the night before. So I'm going to go to my add-on because I've already added Pear Deck. I'm going to open up the add-ons on the right-hand side of the screen. Kind of reminds me of Nearpod again. I'm going to use, they have a templates library so you can build slides from the beginning, middle, and end of a particular lesson, in addition to some other components you can add down here as well. So I'm just going to start with building my lesson from the beginning. So there's slides options here. If you look on the side, it has bell ringers. It has questions for students to answer. You can add those pieces in. You don't have to use all of these, of course. Students can do a rating here at the bottom. I'm going to go back. The same exists for a middle of the lesson. They can summarize what they've learned. You can put in multiple choice activities. The end of the lesson components are there as well. You can search by particular content area. So I am going to, what's under critical thinking? Oh, this is nice. So under critical thinking, there are different types of graphics that you can add. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the beginning of my lesson. And I'm going to start, if you want to do a bell ringer, let's start with a bell ringer so students know what to do when they enter the classroom. All right, so you might want them, and you can make these, tailor these to your specific lesson. Take a seat, take out your device. So students have instructions so they know what to do as they enter the room. So then maybe you want to have students doing a writing piece. Okay, so they're kind of writing about what they learned from the night before, and you can get some insight on what they understood or didn't quite understand. Okay, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to skip down to during the lesson. All right, let's see some of the things some of the options that we have. All right, so let's see. Here's a true false. You can always type in here and personalize, customize these questions to your specific lesson. So it's very much like Nearpod, where you can go through and add in different activities to support, what's being taught. Here's science specific slides where you can evaluate. It has that higher level vocabulary kind of already built in, and you can customize it to what you need and what you want. Okay, you do have the option of sharing. You can have students join um, your slideshow using their email addresses. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. Hopefully that was a clear. So Pear Deck seems to be an easy way to present information. The graphics are really student friendly. So once your slideshow is built, you can click Start Lesson up here. All right. Um, I'm going to choose the instructor paced activity so that where the teacher has control of how the slideshows presented within the classroom. Okay, so there's a code for students to sign up, and then the teacher would be the one to advance the slides and support the learning.